Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is Friday, February 8th, right? No, February 7th, 2025. This is episode number 298. I am one of the hosts of this podcast, Jerry Evanoff, and with me, in my screen above me, is Rich Kacy. Rich, how are you?
I'm doing well, although I was looking at my picture here on the screen, and I look like I'm red as a beet, and I am hot, but I think there's something about this lighting in this room. I'm going to have to work on it. Because if I'm actually this red from being outdoors, I've got sunburn. So
I like the shadow that's behind you. I think if you turn to your side, you might look like the top half of Hitchcock.
Okay.
Not the below the neck part.
Let's see if I tilt this down though, it's probably gonna be it won't be too dark probably.
It's actually more uniform now than it was. Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking about getting a ring light, and I think I really need to get one for it in this room.
Well, I have one right here.
But
I don't point it at me. I point it straight down onto my desk because when I play my football game, my cards are down there.
Right.
And I'd rather they were lit up than me.
Yeah, but
that can only improve the video.
You've got some reflection up off the desk, and you're also getting some from the side as well.
There's a giant monitor right here, like 27-inch, 32-inch monitor right here.
Okay.
And then I have my big TV on right there. So
So you've got all kinds of illumination. I have my light on, but still.
Yeah,
you've got all kinds of illumination. Yeah.
This is the opposite of my living room where there's no light. I've never had a lamp in there or a light in there. I just have the light of the TV and the light of the computer monitor that's in the kind of halfway between the dining room and living room are the only two lights that I've had in there my 24 years of living in this house. I've never had a light in there.
Yeah, but we were recording over there, and there was plenty of light when we were recording. That's weird.
You were recording over there?
We had. Didn't you used to record over there? Because you had your
on video.
You had your drum kit there, and by me. Yeah. I lost you. Where are you? Lost your sound. Yeah, I think he's going to come back here in a second. He's trying to figure out the new technology that he's got. He must have kicked something loose. He's now on the floor, on his back, scooting underneath the desk. We've got all kinds of wires. Oh, no.
Definitely not on the floor on my back. If I was on the floor on my back, I wouldn't get up. Yeah, actually, it's these microphones. The one thing I don't like about these microphones, I feel like I have to constantly charge them.
Oh.
And this one probably hadn't charged in like 2 days. So I rotate them. And this is the one I was using earlier today when I botched the audio on my football game that I was recording. That was fun. We'll talk about that. Technology. I'm a computer programmer, Rich. I've been a computer programmer for a long time. I'm a techie guy. You'd think I'd actually know how to do this stuff, but no.
Well, it just goes to show that, programming and being a hardware guy are two different things.
Yeah. That's why we have hardware people at work, and they don't have to come to me for that kind of thing.
Right.
Anyway, all right, let's get started with the podcast here. We've babbled on long enough. I don't know how your week was, but I had an interesting week in terms of the fact that for the first time, potentially in a long, long time, I actually had 7 full days where I had a writing session during the day.
Oh, wow.
It was great. Unfortunately, my goal was to get through the first 10 chapters of my prequel novella. At the point where we were last week, I was at chapter, I believe I was 8.5 chapters in. Mm-hmm. And I think I even said, I'm going to set myself an easy goal. I'm just going to get through 10. Yeah, I got through half a chapter and I did not succeed at the goal. And now I'm basically 8 chapters in. But I still had 7 sessions where I did other stuff. And we'll talk about it because I'm having a blast right now. So that's where I am. The book did go up 313 words as I edited chapter 8 from last week to the total of 33,207. My words per hour is still sitting at 1339, and my words for the year stayed at 9150, although I suspect that's going to change soon. I did not write any new first draft words this week. So then the question is, what did I do this week, having those seven writing sessions? But I didn't add any new words. I barely advanced in my prequel. Well, I'll tell you after Rich is done talking. That's my team.
I'm sensing a side quest of some kind.
Kind of.
For my stats, I did some editing on romance number 1 this week. Actually, this week wasn't as productive as my previous weeks have been this year. But that was mainly because at the library, we were shorthanded most of the days I was there, and I just didn't really get any time to write. But I did do some editing on romance number 1 during the week. I ended up adding 2,330 words. That story now stands at 62,240 words, and it's 34 chapters long at this point. And I'm only about 7% through the editing process.
Very specific. I like it.
Yeah, I have a bad habit when I edit of going over things again and again and again. So I don't know how I can possibly stop myself from doing that. But I'll edit stuff and then I'll go back and I'll say, "Ooh, I've got a better idea," and I'll do it again, and then I keep on going back and forth, back and forth. But at some point, I may have to push on from that. I kept plugging away at writing new words for romance number 2, but I didn't actually finish it. I kind of hoped to finish it. I think I mentioned that last week. But the end is in sight, but I think I'm going to need probably another 4 or 5 chapters to finish it up. And I only add 5,142 words to that story. So it currently stands at 41,711 words. At the end of the first week of February, I've now written 47,753 words of the 200,000 word goal I had for 2025. So I'm at the 30% mark already, which actually makes me pretty chuffed, even though I had kind of a down week. I'm only a month and a week into the year. I'm at 30% to my goal. So can't complain about that. A slow week for social media, though, as I didn't do very much. I posted a few times, but not a heck of a lot. I'm still trying to figure out what grabs people's attention the most. So far, it looks like it's things like quotes from other authors, famous authors, that are kind of salient to either what I'm doing or what I'm not doing, or should be doing. I only added 8 new followers, and I currently have 275. So it is going up, just not very fast.
What does chuffed mean?
Oh, that's the British word for I'm excited about it.
All right, so can I unchuff you for a second?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure your math is wrong there. Isn't 47,000 of 200,000 less than 25%? Because isn't 50,000 of 200,000 25%?
Oh yeah, you're right. Why is I just took that off the spreadsheet I'm using.
Oh, your formula might be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even look at the formula. I just downloaded it from somebody else. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Still, 25%. I'll take it.
Right. Yeah. I didn't think it would unchuff you. I don't know if unchuff doesn't work, but I didn't think it would unchuff you very much. It's just I looked at that and went, I don't know if that's right or not. I don't generally do math on Friday nights, but that's just right.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah. All right. Well, jumping into my week.
Oh, you know what? I know what the problem is. Right. The formula is the formula is probably right. I put in a bunch of I was fiddling around and put in a bunch of numbers for placeholders and later months. And I bet I never took those out.
Yeah,
that's probably what it was.
There you go. Okay. All right. In terms of my week, so last Saturday, I decided I wanted to do a whole bunch of things, and basically a whole bunch of things I like doing, and then finish my out and about time that I had on Saturday with the one thing I really don't like doing, which is shopping for clothes. So I headed to Chick-fil-A first, where I finished chapter 8 in my editing. I'm really enjoying going into the AI chat once I'm finished with my editing and just asking it for strengths and weaknesses. I would say, let's say it gives me 6 of each. I would say 4 of each are probably, who cares, or I'm going to address it later. Like a lot of times it'll tell me, you need to set up this character's background a little bit better in this chapter. And it's like, no, I'll do it later. I've already got it written. That's fine. Right. But, things like that. But there are always 1 or 2 things. And the one that seems to be coming, I talked about this last week. This chapter 8 had the same problem of I had too much description that doesn't matter at the very beginning of the chapter, the whole info dump at the beginning. And I didn't really, when I'm reading it myself and editing, it makes sense to me. And then the AI says, no, you need to get to this point quicker. And I'm like, well, you're right. That's what all the experts will tell you, that human beings that you listen to on podcasts and stuff and YouTube videos. So it makes sense. So I went in and cut some words and to get it right to the meat of the chapter. Then what I'll do is I'll save those words in a snippet in Novel Crafter with the idea of maybe I can plug them in later in, maybe a sentence here or a sentence there, not just drop the paragraph in that I cut, but like a sentence here, a sentence there, to get that stuff back in. So, and then I'm also kicking around the idea of making a romance subplot for Sam that doesn't work out in the end, because in book 1, 10 years later, the romance does work out. And I've been thinking about the Save the Cat and the theme stated section of it. And I kind of like the idea of Sam's mom kind of being on him for just kind of drifting at the very beginning of the story. Because in chapter 2, there's a big conversation with his mom. And I kind of like the idea of him just drifting. He's 6 months out of college. He's not, he's working a job, but he's not doing much of anything else. And his mom's like, I don't like this. You should move back home, that whole deal. So I thought maybe I can kind of plug a romance in there, and I already have the character already in there. I know what character it would be, but I don't want it to work out in the end, the romance side of it. So I'm kicking that around. I'll probably wait until I'm done editing the entire book before I go back and maybe add that in, or I don't want to just plug it in. It's got to make sense, but so we'll see how that goes.
So the solution is obvious. You kill her.
I don't want to do that either. I don't really want to do that either. So that's the problem, is I don't know how I would end it. Like, because this person is a local, she works in the police station. She's kind of like the receptionist when you first walk in the door, kind of aloof herself, about the same age. And I really like the idea of the romance. I had him try to do a flirty thing, and it was super awkward. And I thought that was kind of a fun way to start that romance, because if I ever started one, that's how it would start. So I thought that could be kind of fun. So I'm still kicking that around. I'm not sure yet. But and then I'm also, it's so funny, I'm also using a combination of Novel Crafter's AI when I do this, but I'm also still using ChatGPT. I do like the idea of being able to just cut and paste. I think ChatGPT has a memory. I don't know if Novel Crafter's chat box has a memory. I don't know if it's just using Codex and that's it, or if I type something in there and then it gives me an answer, and then I say, can you just refine that? Will it remember what it put in the previous message? I don't know. I think it does.
It will. And in fact, you can recall from it all your previous conversations with it as well. Okay. Yeah. So it operates just like ChatGPT.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. That's good, because I wasn't feeling that when I was using Novel Crafter originally. When I first started using it a couple weeks ago, I wasn't feeling that. So I was still kind of going back and forth. The other thing is I'm using a lot of OpenAI now in my in Novel Crafter, because and see if I can remember what it was today. I had about 25 chats today. And I think I spent 67 cents total. Mm-hmm. 4 of them were with Claude's Sonnet, and that cost me like 51 of the 67 cents. Yeah. And then 2 of them were Mr. Medium, which were like 4 cents a piece. So the other, 21 chats cost me like 6 cents or something like that. And I've been using ChatGPT the whole time. So what's the difference between using it in there and in ChatGPT's app? I'm happy with the answers most of the time, but I do like, Sonnet is so much better than everything else in terms of getting you good responses. It's just, I was sending in, I think 25 to 35,000 tokens, and I was pulling out 400 to 800 in the responses, and it was about 6 cents every time I was doing that, which, that's cool, but it adds up. So I was only doing it in places where I really wanted the best answers, and then most of the time I was just using OpenAI the rest of the time. So that was fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually, I've kind of gotten used to the chat inside of Novel Crafter, flipping back and forth. I think I told you last week the UI is still tough to get around because there's so much, and I'm really starting to get used to it. So
I before I started editing Romance #1, I dumped the entire thing into Claude Sonnet. So all 60-some thousand words, and wanted it to do, like you said, what's the strengths, what's the weaknesses. So if you're going to give me weaknesses, where should they be addressed in the story in terms of in between what chapters or in what chapters? And that was running me about like 50 cents or 60 cents a pop to do that. Because I was starting to push up against the. Actually, I don't know what the token limit now is on OpenAI, but
I don't even know.
It was up there.
Yeah. I think that's what I might do, is I might save, that kind of thing for the end when I'm all done and I just want to get some strengths and weaknesses of the whole book. I think I'm okay, putting a couple chats through and then going back to something else for when I'm ready to start working on revising those.
What's really good about doing that is you don't get you need to have more background on this character in this chapter,
right.
Because because you've already done it and it recognizes it.
Right. Yeah.
None of that
when
kind
you
of
use
stuff.
The whole book. Yeah. So after Chick-fil-A, I went to a whole bunch of places. The first place I went was Barnes and Noble, and I bought this. I'm very excited about this. It's a fancy Agatha Christie, and then there were none hardback with a couple other books, Crooked House and something called Endless Nights that I don't know. But I was really happy to see that. I know this came out. This is an anniversary for And Then There Were None, and it's my favorite book. So I figured I would just go ahead and buy this. And I don't even know if I'll ever open it in the package, but I just like having it. It's back here now behind my it's between my books. Me and Agatha Christie on the same shelf makes a lot of sense.
Oh, of course.
So, yeah, of course. Yeah. So then I went to like Target and Best Buy, and then right at the very end, I went to Jersey Mike's. I love Jersey Mike's, despite the fact that Danny DeVito makes those awful commercials. I do love Jersey Mike's, and it's so far away that the only time I go there is if I'm out near Barnes and Noble and I have a chance to go there. So I got that and brought it home, and I ate my sandwich, and basically not much the rest of the day. It was great. Played my football game a little bit, hit the couch. But one thing I want to chat about real quick with you is book covers. You see a lot about book covers on all the different podcasts and the YouTube videos and all that stuff that we watch and that other people watch, and they're always talking about the images and how they should show what the book is going to be about and all this good stuff. I was standing in the middle of Barnes and Noble in their 3-sided murder mystery section, or I guess it's just mystery section. Every single book cover looked the same, and it was basically just like a blocky. There were 2 colors, there might be a couple of blocks, and then there was a book title and an author name, and that was it. And it started making me wonder, like, how much do book covers really matter? And 2, I guess maybe on Amazon if you're browsing they matter, but even in the bookstore, they all look the same. There's nothing in there where I go, ooh, that book cover catches me over that book cover, because they all look the same. Is that a thing? Like, what are we missing here?
It's definitely a thing for trad publishers when they're publishing name artists or name authors. I think that started actually 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, with Anthony Horowitz's Sherlock Holmes retellings and stuff like that. They started coming up with these, very monochrome colors, very little in terms of illustration or anything on it. And if you want to make your book look like it's a trad book and is not in indie, it's not a bad way to go. It does, if you're doing a cozy mystery, of course, that doesn't signal cozy mystery. It really signals traditional mystery. So I've thought about that too, because one of the most successful run of books, kind of mystery, thriller, humor books are all the Carl Hyacin books, the Florida books that he wrote, and they are all like that. They are just a single color on the cover. It's usually pastel, and then some stuff in there that kind of looks like it came out of clip art. So
yeah. I mean, it makes me wonder, like, can I just make my own book covers?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to just make squares and color them in and then put a couple of pieces of text over top of them. It's really not that complicated. So I don't know. It was just strange to me. And you said it doesn't scream cozy mystery. It doesn't even scream mystery to me. It's like the only reason I knew I was looking at mysteries is because A, I recognize some of the authors, and B, there's a white sign on the section that says mysteries.
Right.
But if you just took me in there and I just kind of looked around, I don't know if I would know. Maybe the titles would signal it. Maybe that's what you got to do, is have a title more than a cover that matters.
The title does signal too, but and also the font that's used. But I maybe it's just because I read a lot of traditional mysteries, but from authors who are publishing now, and the trad publishers are putting them out. But when I see those books, that's the first thing I think of, is mystery suspense. Okay. So
I didn't look at the covers of the other sections. Next time I go, I'll have to look and see, compare the genres and just see if they're any different. I don't know. All right, so Sunday, this was kind of a day. I wrote in the outline that this was a day of getting stuff done, although I don't remember what I did. So I hope that I got stuff done and I'm not lying to you in the title. First off, I went to Panera and I started to work on chapter 9 in the book. I really didn't get that far with it, or did I? Oh, I did. Oh, so I said earlier in the podcast that I only got through chapter 8. Apparently I got through chapter 9 and didn't even realize it. Yeah. So I got through chapter 9, which is great. While I was there, I did get an email back from Riverside, which is what we're using to record this podcast. And, remember I asked him for free months because that's the thing that I do now. And he did not give any free months, but he did give me a promo code that knocked it down by 30% for the first 3 months. So I just subscribed, and it's like $20 a month, and it's nothing. I love it.
That's essentially a free month.
Yeah, it's fan. Oh, you know what? Now, see, that's why I don't do math on Fridays. You're right. You're 100% right. That is a free month. So it never hurts to ask. So if you're getting ready to subscribe to something and it's like you're probably not going to get anything from like Comcast, but if it's a smaller company, maybe they have something. You never know.
Yeah.
While I was there, let's see, worked on chapter 9. So I ended up starting it and finishing. I changed a whole bunch of things, and in the end, it was up 4 words, which was nice. I remember deleting a ton and adding a ton. And then I did the whole thing with asking the AI for strengths and weaknesses. And the very first thing that it said to me was my main character, Sam, did not have a clear goal for that specific chapter. And I know that's a big deal. So I did not worry about fixing it, but I did make a note right at the top of the chapter that says, Sam doesn't have a clear goal. Make sure you fix this the next time when I go through it for my next revision, my next pass. So I went to the grocery store, and then I came home and watched one of my favorite sitcoms from my childhood, Perfect Strangers, which is on Pluto TV for free. And I'd always thought that shows like Perfect Strangers and Alf would not, they wouldn't really be that funny to me as an adult 40 years later. I mean, I laughed through the whole thing. It was fantastic. I was so happy. I even remembered some of the lines, even though I hadn't seen it in so long. It's great. But the one thing that I did do was I opened up TurboTax and I did all of my taxes. Federal, city, and state, and I submitted all of them. I didn't make enough on books to where it mattered, so I didn't worry too much about that. And that really is making me want to get these books out even faster. So, because I really would like to have some numbers to put in there. It's funny, I was filling it out, and I had forgotten that when I bought my electric car last year in November, that I took the $7,500 point of sale discount. Well, when you do your taxes, unfortunately, you have to treat that now as income.
Oh, really?
That kind of sucks. So it knocked me down to where I was owing like $60 to $70. But there was a section where you could put in, did you install a electric car charger at your house? And if so, how much did it cost? And how much was the installation? And for me, it was $425 for the charger and $1,895 for the installation. So it was like $2,300 or $2,400 that I put in there. And by the time I was done, my federal tax return went from me owing like $70 to me getting back $650 just because of that one thing. Nice. So I was very happy about that. And I hope that I did it right. I mean, but I think I did. So, and then Monday, so as soon as I got to work, the first thing I did was request the half a day off for today. And it was immediately approved. I think I'm going to do that about every third week is kind of what I figured out. I always open my schedule on Monday morning and kind of look around the calendar and go, how do I want to do this? And I kind of decided that every third week seems like the way to go. I'll be going to a hockey game at the end of this month on a Saturday. So if I take half a day Friday, I'm not really going to be able to write on Sunday, I don't think. So that'll work out to where that Friday I can write and kind of make up the time. So it'll work out okay. Let's see. At lunchtime, I knew that I still had 3 writing sessions after today, including Friday afternoon that I had now requested off to get through chapter 10. So I decided to go ahead and do some plotting on book 6. Used some of the Novel Crafter chat, came up with a really, really solid first chapter. Kind of already had it, but really I just got it more detailed. My chapters, my plotting of chapters are end up being like 800 to 1,200 words, just the plots themselves. So I know people who don't like the plot, people who just do the pantsing. I know they say that they don't like the plot because it ruins them kind of discovering the book as they go.
Right.
And for me, I'm actually having a lot of fun discovering the book as I plot. So I'm still getting that. And then when I sit down to write, I don't expect it to be boring. I know that people say that, but I don't expect it to be boring. That's why I'm okay plotting. I don't know. You pants more. Is that how you come? Is that how you feel?
I pants because I get bored trying to plot. I guess that's the basic thing.
Okay.
And I'm not as creative when I'm plotting. But then again, I'm not writing, or I have never tried writing like 1,000 words in a plot per chapter. I mean, you're essentially writing a first draft and pantsing as you're doing it.
It's paragraphs and bullet points. So you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're essentially pantsing the first draft, calling it an outline. But it's approximately the same process. So
yeah. I started working on chapter 2. I had a little bit of time left in my lunch. I got most of that plot finished, but I did need to have some kind of a cliffhanger at the end or something to make the reader want to keep reading. In the evening, I made a giant bowl of potato, bean, bacon, and chicken soup, which was great. And then I ended up watching TV until bedtime. Which is wonderful. I love that soup. Tuesday, back in the office, did a little more plotting. As I was driving to work, I was kind of talking to myself, and I was looking at the motive of the book 6 murder along with why my main character was blamed. Came up with something that I think is going to work really well. And the first thing I did when I got to work was open up Novel Crafter and open a snippet and just type in there so I would not forget it, because believe me, a half an hour later, I was going to forget it. I have a memory like a goldfish, I think. So then at lunch, it's time to get back to editing the prequel. I want to get chapter 10 done so that I can say that I completed my goal, except that I didn't, because I had all these ideas about book 6 running around in my head. So I spent some time with chapter 2, finishing the plot, adding a cliffhanger, and then I went to chapter 3, again, getting the general overview of it. And now that I know the general overview, I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen in chapter 4. And since I've already plotted chapter 5, it's first pinch point, I'm almost finished with Act 1 in terms of plotting. I think I have 25 chapters is what I have open. I don't know how many I'll end up with, but the pinch points are going to be at like 5 and probably 19 or 20 is where the 2 pinch points are going to be, with the midpoint at 12 right now. It's great. I'm kind of, and it's really fun. I'm really enjoying this story. It's a little bit different than any of the other ones I've written. Got a lot of weird personalities. I think I said a couple weeks ago, I have a competitive eater. I have a YouTube superstar. I have a yoga teacher. I have what were some of the other ones? Oh, I don't even remember some of the other ones. I have a child star who's no longer an actor. He's just a child star who's just a normal person now, which for a child star is kind of strange for him to be a normal person. Maybe
exactly. That's first thing ran through my head.
He might actually be the murderer now that I think about it. So I played around with that. And then Wednesday, so I'm working from home on Wednesday. Now, Rich, I've been saying it for weeks. It's time to head across the streets of the library and continue working on the prequel because I want to get chapter 10 done. Except for I didn't work on the prequel, but I did go to the library. I mean, that's pretty amazing. I walked across the streets of the library, and again, I'm enjoying plotting book 6 so much, so I just kept going with that. I went over there for about an hour from 12 to 1, and I managed to finish the plot for chapter 4, and again, up over 800 words. And I already had my pinch point 1, so really all I needed was the beginning of chapter 5, so I plotted that, and then I added some more detail to the pinch point, and I'm feeling really good about how Act 1 is going right now. But Act 1 and the last couple chapters are always the easiest to come up with. It's that stupid middle that is a pain in the ass. So I was a little nervous about that. Thursday, though, Mother Nature, Rich, Mother Nature's probably feeling pretty bad for us. She's like, I've given you guys a lot of snow in the month of January and in December. I've made it really cold, including some days below zero. How about you guys wake up to something a little bit different on Thursday morning? How about I give you guys an ice storm, which is sadly what we got on Thursday morning. Really disappointed. I did not go to work. There was no way I was driving in this. One of our guys who drives from about the same distance as me posted in our Teams chat about 6:15 a.m. Hey guys, I tried to go. Turned around. I'm not going in today. And I'm like, what? I'm not going in today. So I ended up working from home. But because I work from home, I did go to the library again. So we're 2 straight days.
Libraries are open because their employees are dedicated.
Yeah, they're like the postal workers, right?
Well, like the post office used to be. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Used to be. Right. Yeah. What was cool, I didn't mention this on Wednesday. I went over. I was talking to Mallory, who runs our writers club, and I asked her. I'm like, "Hey, where are my books? Shouldn't they be displayed somewhere?" And I was laughing about it. And she goes, "Actually, I would display it, but it's checked out right now." And I'm like, "Oh, I like to hear that." So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So Thursday, what did I do on Thursday? So Thursday, I started plotting chapter 6. And I plotted why the guy at the midpoint who gets killed is thought to be the killer. So basically what I want to do is I want to make a guy a suspect somewhere in the first act or in the first half of the second act, and then I want to kill him off at the halfway point, which is, I think, a pretty common trope in a lot of these stories, which I'm okay with. So I had to figure out why is he going to be Sam's main suspect, and I kind of plotted that out a little bit, had a good time with that. And I'm again making progress with this. It's funny because you're right. Now that you say that, I didn't think of this. You're right. When I write a first draft, I usually write about 1 chapter a day. Well, as I go here, I'm plotting about 1 to 1.5 chapters a day. So it's pretty much like I'm writing the first chapter.
Right.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. So then on Friday, again, this morning I woke up, I worked half a day. And I'm probably going to do them every third week until July 4th. And July 4th, it's going to be almost every week. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings today with the idea of just doing more plotting. So you'll see that after I finished chapter 9 in the prequel on Sunday, I did not go back to the prequel at all. I just kept plotting, which is why I did not hit my goal, which is fine. I was there for about 2.5 hours today. I worked on chapter 7 and 8, plotting those out. And then I started chapter 9, but I left before I got it finished. I know what's going to happen in most of it. I just need to sit down and write it down, and I need a good ending there for it also. And I looked, and even though I did not get any new words or any edited words other than a couple hundred, I do have an online document that I started on Monday that has 7,191 words in it right now. So I did get a whole bunch of words down. Those are just all plotted words, not first draft, not edited, whatever. Yeah. And and real quick, let me just tell you a story. I came home after editing, and it was like, I'm going to play my football game. I got some time before we podcast. I'm going to plug in this microphone, and I'm going to start talking. And I recorded for a good 45 minutes before I realized the microphone never turned on. And I didn't actually, I played the first quarter, which was nice. I just didn't get a video out of it. So I'm going to deleted it and I'll start playing that game from the second quarter for YouTube. So,
right. Well, my week, last Saturday was a work day, but I had quite a bit of time to myself. It was probably the only day this week that I did. So I managed to both pay my bills for the month, which is always a chore, and write 1,890 words on Romance 2. And I also took a walk at lunch in the neighborhood around the library. I'm going to start doing that on the regular, I think, because I'm just not getting enough exercise. And I need to, not so much get my heart rate up, but just as much as just getting some steps and get my muscles moving. Because you spend all day at the library just sitting around, basically. Although you do get up and get stuff for people, but it's just not enough. So I'm going to start doing that walk on a daily basis. Sunday, I took it kind of easy. I did manage to plant a little more than a flat of kale in one of the beds that we've been growing crimson clover in as a green mulch. It's kind of an experiment in what they call permaculture, where you try to disturb the soil very little over the years. It's almost kind of like a prairie concept where you just let things come up and you can plant in it. You got to make a hole, plant the kale in it, but everything else you just leave undisturbed. And it supposedly improves the production of vegetables and cuts down on the number of pests you have and everything else. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Are you planting crimson and clover over and over?
Yeah, over and over. In fact, I will be doing some more tomorrow. This stuff is wild, man. It comes up really fast and it grows like crazy. I can't wait till it actually blooms. It's going to be beautiful. Got a neighbor across the street who keeps bees. She's got like 3 or 4 hives. They're going to be all over that stuff. It'll be really interesting. I did get it in the evening Sunday. For some reason, I got the writing bug. I don't often do that anymore in the evenings. And I got to crank out 1,726 words in a little over 2 hours. I have slowed down considerably. I had fewer words this past week for reasons other than writing time. But just getting towards the end of this story, I do feel like I'm slowing down because I'm trying to bring it into a soft landing instead of just crashing out there at the final scene. So we'll see. I don't know if that's common for pantsers or not, that they get kind of slow at the end because they don't really know where it's going to end and they're trying to feel their way towards it. But that's true for me. On Monday, the other thing I wanted to mention, I guess for Monday was the first day I did some editing. I had a question pop up in my head, but I wonder if Scrivener has track changes. And I'm not talking about, taking a snapshot and then being able to compare, but whether it has the ability to color code the changes that you make in an original text. Turns out it does. So I turned all that stuff on for different kinds of things that I do. It'll be different colors. And it's really crazy because I go back and I look now after I've done a few chapters and I change a lot out of the first draft. I mean, in some cases, it's almost becoming a different story, which is not something I want to do. I don't want to get off and write a different story. So I have to kind of corral myself back in. The first thing on Monday, though, I had to go to get my annual physical, which I passed with flying colors, which was great. And even, filled all the weird meds that I have and stuff that probably he shouldn't just fill for anybody, but he does for me. Once at work, we were shorthanded and I spent virtually the entire day on the public desk, which is so completely tiring, including a stint in the teen room, which isn't really tiring. I kind of like being in a teen room because nobody's ever there. Teens don't go to the libraries, apparently, at least not during the day, for sure, because they're in school. But even after school hours, they just don't come in. I worked on a budgeting spreadsheet at that point too, because I had never really set one up for 2025, and I just really couldn't get enough uninterrupted time to write new words. So I did do a bit of editing on Romance 1 and ended up with 162 words additional to it. Tuesday, I didn't have to work until noon. So in the morning, it was beautiful out. In the morning, I went out and planted a few more seed trays to sprout lettuce, pak choy, and sugar snap peas. Those are all cold weather or cool weather spring plants. Although that's relative because here we were in the mid 80s today. So at work, we were again shorthanded when I finally went in at noon. So all I managed was some editing on Romance 1 and not really even very much of that. And I added 207 words. Wednesday, this is one of those weird administrative days I hate. I know every year, even when I worked in the university, I knew this was coming up every year and I just dreaded it. And that's the day that the state comes out with its mandatory training for 2025. And that's for ethics, sexual harassment, and digital security. They dump all these videos on you and they say, okay, you got to have these all done by March 30th or whatever. I wasn't on the, so when I wasn't on the desk, I actually said, okay, I'm going to do like I have in previous years at the university. So I'm going to go ahead, put them on double speed, and I'm just going to blaze through them and have it done with fairly quickly. Well, somebody's gotten smart at the state level and they've disabled the ability to run those videos on anything other than normal speed.
Yep.
So I can play that game too. So what I did is I set each of them up in their own browser window. Because if you set them up in a tab and you click away from the tab, it stops the video and waits for you to get back. So I set them up all in their own browser window and I just let them run. And then I just check back every now and then to see if I need to answer a question or take a quiz or whatever, because they sprinkle these things in throughout the whole thing.
The most common sense questions and answers you'll ever see in your life.
I think on each one, I missed a couple on the ethics training because they word things funny in the ethics training.
Yeah.
But in general, like sexual harassment, I got 100%. So I'm perfectly positioned to sexually harass.
And they were anti. I have to say they were anti. Were they pro or anti? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's just all common sense. And
at my last job, we had to do that too. We had to do that every quarter or every whatever it was. And I remember going down to HR after one of them and just asking them, "Hey, is there any way that I can get an acting role in one of these? Because they're so terrible that I know I could do just as bad. I really want to be in one of these." And she said that it was a third party company that did them that I have to get a hold of, and I just never reached out. But I would love to be in one of them. They're so bad.
Yeah.
And I would just love to be in one of them.
Well, ours, there isn't even any acting. I wish there were little skits or something, but there's just nothing. It's just a guy standing there and talking to you.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Ours at the last job, they were skits and they were so cringy. Oh, yeah. Especially the sexual harassment ones. It's like, oh, dude, what are you doing? You sound awful.
I didn't get any writing done that day, really, but I did manage to do a bunch of editing on Romance 1. I actually had 1,624 words, essentially another chapter. It was, I got to a point where I was saying, man, there's something missing here. And it was, and what happened is, and this is probably something I shouldn't be doing, but I am reading 2 different romances right now while I'm writing this and editing it. And I'm noticing that I don't find very many romances that I pick up that don't have at least 2 point of views. So right up front, I decided that I needed to get a point of view from the male protagonist.
Wow. Okay. That seems like a big change.
Yeah, well, it's going to be one of these deals where we have to drop it in. I wrote the first draft just all from the female's perspective. So we're getting her view on it. So now I'm just going to have to go through and sprinkle new chapters or scenes within chapters that gives insight into what the male is thinking and what he's doing. So we'll see how that goes. I really don't want this thing to blow up to be 90,000 words or something. So just have to see what happens with it. On Thursday, it was another work day, and I thought I'd be doing more editing in my spare time, but instead I found myself writing some new words on Romance number 2. And whenever I got a chance during the day, it was like most days, in 100, 200 word blocks. But I ended the day with 1,526 new words on that. And also I did a little bit of editing on Romance 1 and got 337 new words. So that was not a bad day, especially considering I, again, spent most of my time sitting on the public desk. And also I had to teach a class that afternoon. Well, not a class per se, but I had a woman come in and she needed help learning to navigate around Google Drive. And set up Google Drive, set up an organization. She's like an 83-year-old woman who's the financial secretary for her sorority. So, yeah.
That is a 80s movie right there.
Yep. So I helped her for about an hour and a half or so. But other than that, I was able to get a little something done anyways. And today I had the day off. I got a long weekend. I've been outside all day because, like I said, it's been 80s and sunny. I planted a bunch of potatoes, cleared some vines out of the trees, moved a compost heap, set up a water timer for the summer, and chainsawed up a tree that's been laying in the back 40 for like over a year now. I dropped the tree, and it was a fairly big tree. It was probably had a circumference of at least 2.5 feet. and I dropped it. In fact, I had misjudged the height of it. It went through my fence, so I had to fix my fence. When it did it, cut the top off. But for some reason, I either ran out of time or I just didn't want to do it then. So it's just been sitting there, and no wood sits in this part of the world for more than a week without getting termites in it. So I noticed when I went back there today that there's all these sawdust piles all around at the base of the along the length of the tree. So I said, I better just cut this thing up. That, and it was in my way because I was trying to get my wheelbarrow into where the old compost heap was, so I could pull the compost out and move it to the new spot. So finally bit the bullet and went ahead and chopped it up. So right now I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I can smell myself, which is never a good thing. And after dinner and the shower, I think we're going to sit down and we're going to try to order our glasses through Zenny and see how that goes. We were supposed to do it during the week and never got to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that was my week. It was kind of busy. I did get some writing done. It wasn't quite as productive as I have been, but I'm happy with the progress. And I have nothing really new on my running list of future things to do.
I don't either, although I did take off the idea of plotting book 6 because I had it on there as like a running list of future thing to do. But because I'm pretty much exclusively working on it now, I just removed it from the list because it's just part of what I'm doing every day. In terms of my addicted to, I talked about this a few weeks ago, but that Labors of Hercule podcast with Adam and Frankie, and I don't know their last names. I don't know if they even say their last names, but if you just Google Labors of Hercule, search Labors of Hercule, Labors with a U, Hercule in your podcast app, you can find it. Even if you've never watched this show, if you're looking just to be entertained, just to sit and laugh at two people who are really funny, I would say just listen to this podcast. It's really good. But I would also say go get BritBox and watch the show because it's really good too.
Yeah.
And I'm this week I spent a lot of time getting caught up. I'm getting closer. I'm glad that I actually found it now and not when they first started, because they were doing episodes basically one every 2 weeks, and just the agony of having to wait for my next episode would be awful. But now I have like 50 of them that I'm working to get caught up on. It's great. I have something every day when I'm in the office to sit and listen to, which is great.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely if you can listen to that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about it. I was going to check that out, but I'm definitely going to do that later. For me, my addicted to is the same as it was week before: fried apples and ice cream. We finished off the pan last week, Friday, I think I said we did, and my wife made a whole new pan, so we can do it for a whole nother week. So
nice. That sounds so good. You have to like text me whatever the recipe is, even if it's simple. Just text it.
Oh, it is. It's super simple. Yeah, you just butter and apples and cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Cook the apples till they break down a little bit, almost like you're making an apple pie or something. Yeah.
Cut them first, like slice them into the triangles or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna try this. I made an apple pie once for the first time like 4 or 5 years ago. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. In terms of my coming up this week, I'm pretty much switching over now to plotting book 6 exclusively until I'm done. And there's actually a really good chance that I write book 6 before I go back to the novella. That would give me my first drafts of books 2 through 7. All that I've left is 8 and 9, so I can get back to novella after that. But I'm really having a lot of fun with this book. So who knows what's going to happen after I get done plotting it. That's really what I'm working on right now. So I'll continue with that. Tomorrow I'll go to Chick-fil-A in the morning, continue the plotting, and then I'll be home to clean up the house a little bit, play my football game, and then who knows what else. I have no plans on Saturdays. I generally don't do anything except kind of sit around and watch YouTube. So that's probably what will happen again. Sunday, Panera in the morning, and let's see. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff there that was from last week. And then I wrote, apparently there's a football game Sunday night that is of importance.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it until I get bored because Kansas City is there yet again. But I'll do some editing at Panera in the morning. And the one thing about not having 1:00 football on Sundays is I can actually stay at Panera for a good amount of time, like I have the last couple of weeks. So I'll probably get a lot done this weekend in terms of my plotting. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, I'm in the office. Although there's ice predicted for Thursday again, so we'll see. But I'm hoping to make it in. We have a guy who has been with the company for 14 years. He's been my project manager since I started. Great guy. And he is quitting. Next Friday is his last day, so we're having a lunch for him on Thursday. He's kind of moving on to bigger and better things. not with our company. So we're gonna have a lunchroom. So I'll be able to write Monday and Tuesday. I won't be able to write Thursday. Or when I say write, I mean continue plotting.
Right.
Wednesday and Friday, I should be working from home, and I will go back to the library on Wednesday. And then Friday, you never know. I won't have that Thursday in the office. So it's possible that I run across the street on Friday. It's really easy.
Right.
I literally just grab my laptop and walk across the street. And I live in a very small town. The street barely gets any traffic on it, and it's one of the more trafficked roads in the town. So I'll probably just head across the street, and they have a quiet room. I just sit in there, and I can chat with people. I know a couple people that work there, so I can chat with them after I'm done if I want to real quick. So I may do that, and then we'll podcast in the evening, and that's kind of the week. I've currently plotted through chapter 8. I've kind of started chapter 9 a little bit. So my goal for this week is to get past the midpoint, which is chapter 12, in my plotting, so that next week I can say that I'm more than halfway done with the plot.
That was one thing I was going to ask you. Did you want to? Were we going to switch back to Sundays, or were we going to stay?
Oh, you want to do that? Yeah, I'm okay going back to Sunday night next week.
Yeah. I thought you mentioned that's what we were going to do. So
okay, yeah, I'm cool with that. So then that means Saturday I'll do the normal thing I'm going to do. I'm going to increase not only my goal where it is, but Saturday and Sunday I'll do the same thing that I talked about doing tomorrow and Sunday, which is Chick-fil-A in the morning and Panera in the morning on Sunday.
Okay. Well, tonight I'm going to, like I mentioned, try ordering classes from Zinni after we're done and we have dinner. Saturday through Sunday, I have both days off. The weather's gorgeous, and my wife has, for the first time in quite a few years, taken an interest in being outside and gardening. So I'm apparently going to be out there too, both days. I hope to do some editing in the evening, but we'll see if that actually happens. A lot depends on how physical I have to be when I'm out there. Monday through Friday, I'm entering a 7-day stretch of consecutive work days. So my plan each day is to not volunteer for any additional tasks. I have a bad habit of, number one, volunteering, and number two, not being able to say no.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try not to do that this week, and I'm going to use whatever breaks I get and whatever time I have to try and finish off that first draft of Romance number 2. I really would like to have that done and then be able to go and devote all my time to editing Romance 1, get that thing prepared for the next step, which who knows what that is, probably sending it off to an editor someplace. I do have a PowerPoint class to teach on Thursday, but other than that, I'll just be working the public desk, and there's nothing on my plate right now. I don't have any displays or anything. There is a little bit of a brouhaha going on at the library, which I'm sure will waste a lot of my time, where the mayor of the city, the way our libraries run here is that we have a dedicated millage for libraries. So we have a kind of a separate library board of control that collects all this money from the millage. And they made the critical mistake, in my opinion, because I knew this before I even started this job. They made the critical mistake of, over the last 10 years, these millages run for 10 years at a time, of amassing $100 million in their bank account. So they have $100 million that looks like an unspent surplus. Now, what they really do is they save money because they save it for future projects and the operations of the library and everything, because they're strictly on a pay-as-you-go basis. They don't float any bonds. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. But the mayor has decided that, what would be really nice? It'd be really nice if we could raid that and pay it to the police officers instead. So that came out on Thursday. And so we're going to have all kinds of political battles here in the next 10 months or so. There's going to be probably competing referendums in October about what to do with the money and how the library should be structured going forward. And for me, I don't really care. I'm a short timer there, more or less. But for the people who are making it their career, they're going to get wound up on it. And there's going to be all kinds of talk. So other than that, there's something on my plate at work. I should get some writing done. Once I'm home in the evenings, I'll either be starting seeds or tending to seedlings or doing something. This is a really busy time of the year for a southern gardener. Between now and, say, the late March is when everything has to get in. And then you've got basically 3 months of growing and harvesting before everything burns out for the July, August, summertime. So this is a busy time, but unlike most years, we've actually got to jump on it. I actually started planting seeds in the house under lights before I even went on my Christmas vacation to visit family. So we are actually have a good start, and we'll see. Maybe we'll get a lot this year. And I don't really have anything to share, especially I see you've got something.
Yeah, I got something here. So I was talking to I was doing some stuff with ChatGPT in terms of the characters for this book 6 a couple of weeks ago. And then it was like a week later where I went back to it and I just wrote into ChatGPT, I just wrote, give me a summary of where we are right now in terms of the plot. Now all it had was the characters, it had pinch point 1, and it had chapter 1. That's all it had.
Okay.
And it gave me a summary, and then I said, let's make one small change. And then I made one little change. And then I said, give it to me again. And this is what it gave me. And I read this and I was like, this could go on the inside flap with a couple of minor edits. This could be the blurb on Amazon. It's a little bit long, but I'm going to read it. I want to know what your opinion of it is, because I think it sounds fantastic. Here we go. This is no editing. This is word for word what ChatGPT gave me. I will have to edit it a little bit for a couple different reasons. Here we go. Danny surprises Sam with a winter getaway at the Snowbound Haven Inn in Vermont, booking them for a spot at a true crime convention, knowing it's something Sam enjoys. For her, it's a cozy romantic weekend. For him, it's an engaging way to spend time together. Neither of them realizes that one of the convention's featured speakers is Sawyer Greer, the producer of Behind the Lens, the show that twisted the story of Sam's parents' tragedy and left lasting damage on his family. At dinner on their first night, as the guests introduce themselves, Sam suddenly finds himself face to face with Sawyer. The shock and anger are immediate, but Danny had no idea Sawyer would be here either, and she quickly reassures Sam that they can leave if he wants. Sam, however, decides to stay, partly out of curiosity, partly out of need for closure. Meanwhile, the other guests, Goldie and Pike, these are the names, Goldie and Pike, Peyton, Phoenix, Birdie, Aurora, and Zinnia and Sawyer, all seem like strangers brought together by the convention. However, tensions are already brewing, especially between Sawyer and his wife Zinnia, whose public argument escalates into a shouting match before she storms out. In the early hours of the morning, around 2:30 a.m., a scream pierces through the inn. Sawyer is found dead in his room, strangled with one of Zinnia's yoga straps. The storm has trapped everyone at the inn, meaning the killer is among them. The police arrive, but due to the weather, only a brief initial investigation is conducted. Officer Malik Winslow, a charismatic, trivia-loving patrolman, stays behind to oversee the group. While questioning begins, Sam finds common ground with Malik, who listens as Sam vents his frustration about Behind the Lens. However, tension spikes when evidence surfaces, placing Sam at the crime scene. A note with his handwriting is found near the body, despite his insistence that he never stepped foot in Sawyer's room. Suddenly, the tables turn and Sam finds himself under suspicion. And I'm going to skip that part and go to the back one. I'm going to go to the last paragraph. Despite their initial claims of unfamiliarity with Sawyer, each guest harbors a secret reason to want him dead. As Malik questions everyone and the snowstorm intensifies, Sam and Danny realize that solving the murder is no longer just about finding justice. It's about clearing Sam's name before the suspicion turns into an arrest.
So this is more of a synopsis than a blurb, right?
Well, I think that you could use it. I mean, again, there's a little bit of editing that needs done, but giving away some stuff that happens in the first chapter is great. I'm okay with it. And in fact, I didn't read, and now that I'm looking at it, I didn't read you the right thing. I don't know if you were reading along, but I was reading from ChatGPT, and I realized the thing I pasted into the document is a little bit different than what ChatGPT is.
Oh, okay. I thought it was pretty close.
Yes, I really like it.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's a great summary of the whole story without, dropping the twist or whatever, or the conclusion at the end.
Yeah.
One thing struck me as you were reading through it. Okay, in early hours of the morning, around 2:30 a.m., a scream pierces through the inn. Sawyer is found dead in his room, strangled by one of Zinnia's yoga straps. The question is, who screamed?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to have happen is it's going to be her screaming when she finds him. She's not going to, after their argument, she's going to sleep somewhere else, then go back to the room in the middle of the night, and she's going to find him. She's going to be the one that screams. I'm pretty sure is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, because the way it struck me when you read through it was that, Sawyer screamed, but he can't
Yeah.
scream. He was being
Right.
strangled. So
Right.
yeah.
And that's why I said that it needs a little bit of editing.
Yeah.
There's also like the mention of everybody's names. That's got to come out.
Yeah.
I've got to kill up a few other things. I mean, I really have to take some of the words out.
Right.
But I just really like how, without knowing,
it did a good job.
Without,
what did you ask for? Did you ask for a blurb?
Let's see. No, I said, where's it at? I said, okay, I'll go to the top here. All I wrote was, now again, it only know ChatGPT. I'm not in Novel Crafter. I'm literally in ChatGPT. I had the characters pasted in there. I had chapter 1 pasted in there, and I had the pinch point, which wasn't even plotted. It was just like a paragraph of what I wanted to happen. I had that pasted in there. Whoops. And that's all I had in there. So all I said was, give me a summary of where we are right now in terms of plot. All I said.
Okay.
And then it gave all that to me. And then I wrote, let's make one small change, make it so Sam doesn't know, blah, blah, blah. And it gave me a change. It gave it to me again. And then I wrote one more time. I said, okay, this is great. And it has the makings of a great blurb and or book description. Right. I want to compliment them anytime. I like to compliment ChatGPT because it compliments me all the time. And that was it. That's what it gave me. And then and I started working on chapter 1 from there. So,
okay. No, it is good. It is a good summary. That's for sure.
I think I've heard people talk about this before. And I know I heard Kate from Novel Crafter talk about it, where if you're in AI and you're plotting, and I learned this the hard way and don't do it anymore. If you tell it, okay, let's plot chapter 1. This is the person that's going to be dead. This is the person that's going to be the murderer. When it gives you a plot for chapter 1, it's going to give away the murderer right off the bat.
Yeah.
So what I kind of think here is, if you give it just enough of what you want to give it. And I would say chapter 1, the first pinch point, because you can give those away. Those are early enough in the book where those things can be given away. And then give it some character names and just ask it to give you a blurb. I bet it would do a pretty good job.
Yeah, it probably would.
Because that's really what you want to put in a blurb anyway. So
yeah, you really can't give it any more information than what anybody else would have at that point, or else it's going to spill it.
Yeah. All right, that is all for us this week. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I am done, and I am hungry. So
I'm also done. I'm actually hungry too. So that is going to be it for us. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email me, jerryevanoff.com, and I can click the little button here and say that the website is jerryevanoff.com. And look at that, if you're on YouTube, you can actually click that, and it'll take you right to the website and then tab. It's fancy new stuff we got going on here. And let's see, jerryevanoff.com is the website. We are on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, go to youtube.com/ at New Author Podcast and look for us. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to download it for us, even if you don't listen to it, you should download us and help our numbers. We're all for that. We're cool with that. So just search for New Author Podcast on your podcasting app. And then we have a Patreon, patreon.com/New Author Podcast, and check it out, Rich. I actually spelled it right for this week. And I made it into a link. So click that right now if you're watching on YouTube, people, and just go sign up. It's fun. We don't have a lot going on over there, which isn't a very good advertisement for, but we will one of these days. So,
my email address is rich@richkacy.com, so you can find me there. I've finished actually consolidating all my social media accounts. So going forward, the only place to find me, for the moment anyways, is on Blue Sky at Kacy himself.
All right, everyone, that's going to be it for this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you all next week on Sunday, so 9 days from now. Right. And that'll be our regular day over throughout the summer until football starts, because we have our priorities in mind. Thanks all. Have a good one.
Take care.